Welcome to 12-Minute HR Dive podcast. I'm your host Milda, and today's topic is controversial. Why HR should stop hiring HR people. HR talks constantly about talent strategy for everyone else. Sales teams, engineering teams, leadership. It rarely turns that lens on itself. My guest today thinks HR has a skill crisis of its own. Too many people train the same way, solving the same problems in the same way. And the fix isn't another certification, it's hiring people who never studied HR at all. My guest today is Nick Holmes, VP of Learning and Culture at Avalar Health. Nick actually came into HR through acting and sales. He is also completing a PhD, arguing that culture isn't something you build once and maintain. It's alive, it's constantly shifting, and he thinks most organizations are measuring it completely wrong. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be here. Happy to chat.
Yeah, and okay, let's go straight to the first question. You said HR has the wrong people in the room, not the wrong intentions, but the wrong skill mix. What does that actually cost an organization, and what does it look like when it goes wrong?
The problem that we've got is foundationally, we have the same humans going into the same roles, trained exactly the same way, trying to solve problems for today, tomorrow, the future, and unpick the issues of the past. When you don't have enough diversity of skill set in a function as critical as HR, which has such an important role to play in shaping the future direction of the business, how it maintains and leads people, how it develops, then you're solving the same problems without the new problems with the same set of tools. And that will never ever drive organizations forward in such a way, which is why you constantly see HR on the back foot. When COVID came, or HR was at the forefront of everything critical in the organization. It was like a really important inflection moment for us to move the function into a different direction to stay strategic. Unfortunately, we've just reverted back. And so how we educate and upskill HR professionals traditionally is still quite traditional. It's still textbook based. It is still exam based, which is complete nonsense for 2026. We're not upskilling in critical areas like persuasion and influence and marketing and all these really critical digital literacy and AI fluency and all of these really powerful skills that other functions are natively stronger in, or other functions are actively drawing inspiration to upskill in. And so when the ball comes to us and says, how do we drive the business forward? We go, well, let's run an engagement survey, or we need a new performance management. We're not thinking differently enough. This is my point. We are waiting for disruption to happen to us as an industry versus being the disruptors. And that kind of has to change.
Yeah, that actually really connects everything directly to your story. You came into HR through acting and sales. What did that give to you that a traditional HR career path wouldn't have?
Wow, it's a good question. But the ability to persuade people with the words that you say, like we'll figure it out later. But how you can either captivate a boardroom, make a connection with every single person from a graduate and an apprentice all the way through to a CEO and be on a level with them, empathetic with them, listen to them, know their needs, and execute. And the sales skills that come from trying to convince someone else to buy or take something that you have is incredibly powerful when we're trying to push an agenda that sometimes we know people don't see the value of. Your CFO is incentivized and has been brought up environmentally to focus on bottom and top line. If it's not making the business grow on the top line, then we have to constrict on the bottom line as the CFO mantra, right? We have to do these things. We have to keep healthy these ways. As people function, we come in, we know that investment is needed in critical areas like training and learning and talent and acquisition. But in order to get that argument across, we have to sell it. We have to be able to showcase the ROI, the value in this. We have to come at these things with energy and purpose and passion and words that are actually going to change our C-suite's minds. And if you get the ear of the CFO and CEO, but you build trust so quickly. One of the powerful things about acting is, if you're in a scene with two people, someone you've never met before, you have to build instant rapport and trust for it to be believable. It's one of those key things. And then with the sales piece, again, yes, it's sales, but it's also marketing skills. Like, I think this is the biggest thing we miss as a function. The ability to say, right, we're going to campaign this. We're going to make it look and feel so different and vibrant. We remember and see campaigns that resonate with us in the normal advertising world, like Nike shoes or a Mackey's ad or whatever. But we don't do a good enough job in connecting hearts, minds to process. that we deliver as a function. So, yeah, it's about winning over hearts and minds with what you say and how you say it. Like fundamentally, that is it. We need to get better at that.
Yeah, so if that's what different backgrounds bring in, let's talk about what they're actually looking at. Your research argues culture isn't something you build once and maintain. It's alive, constantly shifting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real departure from how most organizations talk about it. What actually changes if you take that seriously?
Yeah, look, I think most organizations treat culture like a vibe or an atmosphere, something that you feel when you walk into a room, which isn't a million miles away from the truth, but it's just how 150 years of literature has presented culture as this piece or this moment, or it's a set of static objects, a set of values, a set of behaviors that in theory are supposed to dictate how people act and behave in an organization, which in theory produces organizational behavior. The challenge is the way that we're measuring this thing, culture, if we treat it as atmosphere, we're only measuring how people feel. And that's what definitionally in what engagement survey is how do you feel? But what we need to move away from, and I'm not saying asking how people feel isn't important, but we need to ask a different question. We need to ask, why are our people behaving the way they are? Why is the system behaving the way it is? And so my research treats culture as an operating system, as an OS, instead of a vibe, a feeling, an atmosphere. We treat it as infrastructure. And when you treat something as systemic, you can start to pinpoint moments in the system that might be failing, might be weaker than the other parts of the system, and then do targeted interventions to improve it. And when you talk to your board about culture, they know that culture eats strategy for breakfast. They know ultimately how people show up on a daily basis is going to be the difference between growth or not. But if you only ask how people feel in a moment, which is, let's be honest, completely dependent on how we've woken up that day, have we been paid a bonus or not? Do I have autonomy and all these things? Am I going to feel differently from Monday to Tuesday? Then you can never get the true data point that you'd really need in order to drive growth within your organizations. We need to ask different questions. We need to ask why the system is behaving the way it is. We need to ask, does the strategy that we've told our people actually matter to shape our purpose and the priorities we're asking people to focus on this quarter? Are leaders modeling the things that we know drives quote unquote a healthy culture? Are they showing up at vulnerability at the right moments? They're decisive. Are they open? Are they empathetic? All of these key traits will determine the health or not of your system. And your system produces the behavior. Behavior produces growth, constraint, or constriction. So,
Yeah, and most organizations still run a single one engagement, annual engagement survey and treat it
yep.
the score as a health check. And it's like, like you already called it like a rear view mirror. But what HR should be doing instead? Exactly what kind of things they should do?
Instead of running an annual engagement survey, which your numbers and participation will inevitably dwindle and people don't see the true output from, you need to get focused and focus on exactly why the organization is on the planet in the first place and align your initiatives to the purpose of the business. And then understand what talent you need to drive growth in the organization. You need to talk growth language 24/7 with the business because growth means if you grow a business, then people can prosper underneath it. People ask me what comes first. If you engage the workforce, does the business grow? And there is some correlation between productivity and engagement, but ultimately, high growth businesses produce highly engaged employees. Yes, if the environment isn't designed well, then it can become toxic and that isn't sustainable. You'll see a massive attrition in the markets dictating your position. But as a HR professional, as a CEO, as a CHRO, CLO, whatever role you're in, it's about starting at that point of purpose, figuring out what your business is here to do on the earth, make sure everyone's role is attached to that, make sure people have clarity and why they're here and what they're here to do. Like for instance, most people attribute burnout to workload. So the more I work, the more stressful I get, the more I'm likely to burn out. Which actually, there was a paper that was released in 2025 that showcased that workload isn't the primary cause of burnout; it's uncertainty. So when you don't have certainty in your role, you're more likely to suffer stress on a continued basis, and stress build up over time produces burnout. So giving people extreme clarity around what they're here to do and achieve. And then your EVP, or the stuff that you want to layer on top of your system, can be more aspirational based on the purpose. If you're here and you're a hospitality chain, how do you make sure that everyone is feeling what it is you're serving? It's all those kind of key things, but it's always linking back to purpose. That's what I'd say.
Okay, Nick Holmes, thank you very much. That was 12-minute HR dive. Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure. Catch you later.